My name is Angela Ahola, and I'm a doctor of psychology. I've dedicated years to studying why we humans do what we do. So what's orchestrating all this? Your behavior and the behavior of the people around you. What if I told you that the complex tapestry of your life is woven from 3 basic threads? 3 motivating factors that all of us have within us, just in varying amounts. Deeply rooted motives that have evolved and made us the ones we humans are.
The first human motive I discuss in my book, Your Hidden Motives, is our need for social interaction and relationships. Though it might seem peculiar if we didn't have this need, it isn't as much of a given as one might first believe. There are a great many species on Earth that lack the need to live in groups. The presence of others affects our work tempo and performance. We even drink faster when other people are around. What we name our children, what music we listen to, which clothes we buy, and how hard we work are all affected by other people. Our choices are affected by what others choose, although probably not exactly in the way you might have guessed, because we often feel the urge to be similar to others, yet we endeavor to be dissimilar, unique as well, simultaneously. Our bodies produce the hormone oxytocin, and the best part is that just engaging socially or giving someone a hug is enough to improve our oxytocin levels. Studies have even shown that people with increased oxytocin levels act with greater consideration and generosity. In fact, the mere act of signaling to someone that you trust them is enough to give their oxytocin a little boost. At the same time, it's also true that certain actions or words can reduce others' levels of oxytocin. To know which these are critical for creating good relationships, great sales meetings, the best way of teaching something, and to really be able to advance in our career. In this part of the book, you'll find out why the first voice to be heard in a meeting has the biggest impact on the decision and the outcome, and when you should be like others and when you should instead stand out and be different. How to use the snob effect and many other phenomena related to the social nature of us humans. The second motive I discuss in my book is status. We love reading about powerful and successful people, such as how the most successful families have built up their empires and fame. If people didn't care about status, there'd be no books about how you can become more influential.
Even though saying the words, "I would like to have more status," might cause many of us to cringe, this is still one of our most fundamental motives. When we gain status, our internal processes pump up our levels of testosterone and serotonin. We get a sort of kick, and we strive to rise in the ranks and collect different kinds of status symbols. But pursuing status has its disadvantages. It leads us to comparing ourselves to others, many times without us really wanting to. Who's got the nicest home, takes the most luxurious vacations, or has the most impressive children? We overspend, feel worse when things go well for others, the reason being that we feel less successful. We also tend to distort the truth to appear more successful than we actually are. And in our romantic relationships, we compare ourselves, even if unconsciously, with one another. And this can actually lead to one particular risk in our marriage. Our drive for status causes us to work far too much, neglect important relationships, and prioritize our time in ways that don't make us happier. At first glance, these comparisons may seem meaningless, I know that. But looking back historically, knowing our place in the pecking order has filled an evolutionary function. Hierarchies simplified things. They reduced injuries and conflicts, meaning more people survived. Each time my tribe has a successful hunt, I avoid potentially life-threatening conflicts with every single individual member over food. If I'm third in the hierarchy, then I know that number 1 and 2 eat first before me. Everyone knew when to step forward and when to step back. Hierarchies provide order and stability. The person who was good at comparing themselves to others survived. The third motive that drives us is our curiosity and thirst for knowledge. Humans are an information-seeking species. As we, humans, learn more about our surroundings, our chances for survival increased. We learned how to start a fire, how shifts in the weather affects different animal species, and the most effective ways to hunt. In terms of survival, those ancestors of ours who knew these things had an advantage over those who didn't. That's why evolution has furnished us with a powerful instinct to seek out new information. The reward centers in our brains get activated when we manage to get hold of this new information, releasing dopamine. But there are disadvantages to this as well. That drives us in a wrong direction. And this is curiosity that's more restless in its nature. And it drives us to seek out new impressions and stimulation to avoid boredom. This is the kind of curiosity that causes us to constantly check our mail or whatever someone just posted on social media. Our constant use of different screens have made us more distracted, which lessens our performance at school or work. It lessens the empathy between us and has a number of other effects on our lives. But knowing how to boost ours as well as other people's levels of dopamine is something we can learn. So these motives are all three carved by millions of years of evolution, shaping every aspect of our existence. We think and feel in accordance with our motives. We make decisions based on our motives. We prioritize our time depending on our motives. Our conflicts are rooted in our motives. We seek employment and get hired due to our motives. Our dating is affected by our motives. And our relationships in general are affected by our motives. We fulfill our collective needs in different ways according to our personalities. But as long as you and I are unaware of the factors driving and affecting our behavior, we'll continue to carry on in the same old way. We'll just run around the way we always have, stumbling into old pitfalls and repeating familiar mistakes over and over again. It's only when we first recognize what our motives actually are that we can take control over them. Just like an elite soccer player, you need to have a realistic and honest comprehension of you in order to achieve personal insight. You need to own your motivations, both your strengths and your weaknesses. It's certainly not always easy to be human, and learning how to handle ourselves and our relationships in the best possible way can very often prove challenging. But as opposed to all of the self-criticism we subject ourselves to, let's stretch out for a moment, clap ourselves on the shoulder, and point out the simple fact that it's just not easy to live in our modern world when we're stuck wielding equipment from time immemorial. You're probably getting along pretty well as things already are. But after you've read this book, you'll do even better. And you'll also come to see both yourself and the people close to you in a whole new light. This isn't a book about how you should be. It's a book about how you and I already are, fundamentally. And it's more than that. How we can become more successful, happier versions of ourselves, despite our motives. Looking back in my own life, as a teenager, the years studying psychology, becoming a parent, beginning my career as an author and a public speaker, I can confidently assure you that life becomes easier and more pleasurable when viewed through the lens of human motives. Sales pitches, teaching, meetings, setting your goals, and just chatting with others in accordance with these three critical motives. When we understand these, it becomes easier to understand ourselves and others, and we can better predict what may happen and how the people around us will act. In the book, you'll get to know why these three motives exist in us, and you'll get tools for managing them better so that you can transform them into your own superpowers. All the best.
aspects of myself I was unaware of. Offers practical tools for anyone looking to grow.
One of the top 3 books in my life. It answers the big questions. This is popular science at its best. The author is personal, funny, and incredibly well read throughout the book.